Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, November 8th, 2017. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. With over 3 million deaths every year and close to 400 million work-related non-fatal injuries and illnesses worldwide, this country is doing its part to protect the rights of workers through the Occupational Safety and Health Bill 2017. With unanimous support from both sides, the bill was adopted in Parliament on Tuesday. Minister of Labour Camilo Gonçalves, who presented the document, said that it is also part of this country's initiative to keep with the Sustainable Development Goals. Gonçalves emphasized that this government has an obligation to protect the rights of workers and make employees' rights a priority.
That the simple act of going to work sometimes can be fraught with danger. And that you can go to work as you've gone to work every other day in your life and say, kiss your family goodbye and head in to the office or the factory or the construction site. And if conditions are not optimal, you can be injured or worse. And we have an obligation to codify certain existing practices, to enhance others, and to help provide for the environment to create a culture of prevention and a culture of placing employee rights at the center of the production of goods and services in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The Labour Minister further noted that the bill will also ensure that the investment sector has a strong footing, as there will be best practices that investors must adhere to.
And we recognize that as we attract new business, we may be attracting entities that have a different culture of workplace safety, that have a different view of employers and employee relationships, and that may have a history of paying less than optimal care to workers. And we have to strengthen the best practices that have evolved in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and place them on a legal footing. And then we have to enhance and create the necessary administrative framework to ensure that occupational health and safety is mainstreamed in Vincentian consciousness and in law.
The Labour Minister said the Occupational Safety and Health Bill will be enacted in stages to ensure that not only government but also the private sector can comply with the regulations.
Clause 2 would provide for the Act to come into force by proclamation made by the Governor General. That is a clause, Mr. Speaker, that I will highlight later on in my presentation or in my wrapping up, because we intend, as has been indicated at the Select Committee, not to enact this particular piece of legislation in one fell swoop. We plan to enact it in phases to ensure that the administrative frameworks are in place, to ensure that we have done the necessary budgeting to create the bureaucracy and administrative framework that's necessary, and also to ensure that employers and business places have sufficient time to contemplate and work the compliance with this act into their own budget and schedule.
And members on the opposition bench in Parliament lauded the Occupational Safety and Health Bill 2017 as a good document. Sharing his insight into the bill, leader of the opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, said it is somewhat of an update to the Factories Act. Dr. Friday said that he had no problem with the document, which he believes would protect workers and employers.
Mr. Speaker, as I said, the bill, it's an update. It updates what was existing. I mean, if you look at the schedule to the Factories Act and you saw what was considered to be occupational diseases then as now, the list has grown considerably. And in 10 years' time, with the growth in human knowledge as to the causes of various illnesses, cancers in particular, I'm sure the list will become even longer. We may come to a point where we're afraid to go to work. And we have realized, Mr. Speaker, that you can't stop all the dangers in the world. Can't prevent everything. But what we can do, we must do. And what I'm saying here is makes it quite clear that we on this side of the House, we have no problem with the intention and for the most part, the content.
Opposition Senator Dr. Julian Ferdinand described the Safety and Health Occupational Bill 2017 as well woven and said this is an example of progressive work when partisan politics is put aside.
That there are many businesses in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that have been engaged in self-regulation, where they regulate themselves, where they look out for the best interests of their employees. I also know, and this is why this bill is so very timely, I also know that very often employers provide their employees with proper safety gear, and the employees do not wear them. I know that. And this bill and the debate on the bill is giving us an opportunity to send a very strong message to those who are listening, especially by radio and watching by television, that you cannot quinge in your eye when you're welding to prevent damage to your eyes.
The restoration of the Sandy Bay London Cemetery is being treated as a matter of urgency. That's according to Minister of Health and the Environment, Luke Brown, as he responded to a question in Parliament on Tuesday posed by opposition MP for the Southern Grenadines, Terence Oliver. Minister Brown said that already a team has been procured to advise and begin work to ensure that the requisite matters pertaining to the removal and burial of the deceased are carried out properly.
The Attorney General has advised on the legal procedure to be followed for the disinterment and then reinterment, both technical terms, of the bodies, and given the green light from the standpoint of the law. The Cabinet on October 4, 2017 mandated a group of public servants to meet under the chairmanship of the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Mr. Cuthbert Knights, to discuss the possible relocation of the Sandy Bay Cemetery. The other members of the group are public health officials, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Transport and Works, the local government officer, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Housing, the Chief Surveyor, and the Director General of Finance and Planning or his nominee.
The Health and the Environment Minister said a temporary burial site will be provided while restorative work will be carried out on the existing cemetery, which was damaged by heavy rains on November 29, 2016.
There was a consideration of several possible sites for a new cemetery. In the end, the decision was taken to simply expand the cemetery onto an adjoining piece of land, which is actually part of the cemetery property, but which has never been used and which was separated from the current site of active burial by a small water channel. Bragsa has been asked to open up access to this adjoining piece of land and to do light surface works to clear the way for the use of this new site. 5. The use of the new site is a short-term solution. We anticipate that in 3 to 5 years' time, there will be a need for additional burial space. 6. The restoration work at the old cemetery site will be simultaneously carried out. 7. The number of perfection. We expect that within 2 months, the problem of compromised graves at London Sandy Bay would be comprehensively addressed and that the old cemetery site would be restored and protected from flooding. This will be treated as a matter of urgency.
Business operations at Flow St. Vincent was disrupted earlier today as many of the company's staff and customers were seen outside the main building in capital Kingstown. Upon investigation, SVG-TV News understands that there was a bomb threat around midday, forcing an evacuation of the building. After several checks were made by law enforcement authorities, the all clear was given and business resumed thereafter. A national soursop planting program will be launched here tomorrow, November 9th, at the Diamonds Primary School. The program will be launched with the distribution and planting of 200 soursop plants provided by the Richmond Vale Academy. The plants are part of 6,000 seedlings propagated by the Richmond Vale Academy, funded through a grant of US $20,000 from the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Preservation Fund. The National Soursop Planting Program forms part of the Ministry of Agriculture, Rural Transformation, Forestry and Fisheries Agri-Export Strategy Initiative, which among other things seeks to increase agricultural exports. The Agri-Export Strategy targets the establishment of 50 new acres and the rehabilitation of 10 acres of soursop. The launching ceremony, which is expected to begin at 9 a.m., will be attended by Minister of Agriculture, Rural Transformation, Forestry and Fisheries, Saboto Caesar, and representatives of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Preservation Fund and the Richmond Vale Academy. Local pathologist Dr. Ronald Child has given the thumbs up to the use of the human papilloma virus HPV vaccine here in SVG, with his job being to consult or assist physicians and patients by providing diagnostic services based on the study of tissues and fluids removed from the body during surgery. In a recent interview, Dr. Child pointed out that breast and cervical cancers are the most prominent cancers among women, with prostate being the top cancer found in men. Pointing out that all cancers can be prevented, Dr. Childs outlined the effectiveness of vaccines in fighting diseases.
Avoid the cancer-causing factors. So that's at the primary level. So things like environmental factors, lifestyle, like things like alcohol, tobacco consumption, you try to decrease those. You want to be, you don't want to be exposed to carcinogens like certain pesticides, etc. The secondary method of preventing cancer are going to be things like you want to institute things like screening programs, for example, like cervical cancer. And these patients who were given the vaccines have been shown that they have been protected against cervical cancer. So it hasn't got any side effects apart from maybe pain at the injection site. And I think if it's being used, it's going to drastically reduce the incidence of cervical cancer. I mean, diseases like polio, measles, these have been eliminated practically just by giving vaccines, you know. UNICEF estimates that about childhood vaccines prevent maybe, I think it's 3 million deaths per year.
Dr. Child also dismissed the thought that the HPV vaccine plays a role in getting the patient infected with the virus.
What is done in, for example, in HPV vaccine, the virus has a genome, that's the genetic material inside, and it's covered by an envelope or capsid that contains antigens. So what is being done in making this vaccine is that they have made antibodies against these antigens. They've been biosynthesized. So the vaccine contains only the antigens to these, contains the antibodies to the antigens found in the capsid only. It doesn't include the genetic material, which is potentially harmful. So it's a relatively safe vaccine because there's no DNA material introduced in the vaccine that's going to cause any problems. As I said before, the only side effects are going to be maybe pain at the injection site. Furthermore, it has been found that the vaccine, it gives you a more efficient immunological response than the ordinary HPV vaccine itself. Stimulate your system to actually fight off the virus.
The pathologist, however, noted the need for more dialogue between the relevant authorities as well as parents and teachers, so as to sensitize persons more about the vaccine and tackle the issue of fear.
When you go to school children, they must have the anti-polio, the MMR, and these things prevent diseases. So why should there be a difference with the vaccine for HPV? It simply saves lives, it prevents diseases. The teachers and the parents, they should get together at least to try and educate themselves and let it be told to the children that it's just as taking a vaccine against the ordinary disease that have been eliminated worldwide, like polio, I said before, MMR, you know. So it's, I don't know, I guess it's something novel that's just been introduced, and there's always fear when initiating something new. People are going to have, obviously, fears that are not really well-based, you know. It's up to the parents and the teachers to actually educate the children as to why they should have it, you know, administered to them.
Parents of students attending the Fair Hall Government School will, for the next 10 months, participate in a parent education program facilitated by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment in collaboration with the Fair Hall Government School. The program will seek to foster a closer community spirit, assist parents in developing proper communication skills with their children, foster positive relationships within the family, promote positive parenting practices, and provide relevant guidance regarding child development and appropriate strategies for parenting children and young people. Participants of the program are parents of children attending the Fair Hall Government School. Speaking at the launch, one of the program coordinators, Angeline Andrews, said that the program will provide a unique opportunity for parents to interact with each other and share ideas and concerns. She also noted that the program will not be beneficial only to the parents but can also have a positive impact on the community. Also speaking at the launching ceremony was Chief Health Promotion Officer Patsy Wiley, who commended the parents for their interest and encouraged them to continue to seek opportunities to improve themselves. Defending workers' rights, an imperative for a democratic and progressive society. That's the theme under which the SVG Teachers Union will host a week of activities aimed at commemorating the 42nd anniversary since the 1975 teachers' strike and industrial action. First Vice President of the SVGTU, Vibert Lamking, outlined the week of activities to be held from the 12th to the 18th of November. He also showed the nation's educators that the union remains steadfast in standing with its members.
Sunday, November the 12th, we begin with the Truth Service at the Hope for Life Restoration Ministries, that's in Honorsville. And this is an ecumenical service, begins at 3. On Monday, November the 13th, that is when we're going to be having the President's message. It will be read in all schools across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. On Tuesday, November 14th, the C.W. Prescott Memorial Lecture. This is an annual event on our calendar. And this year it is at the French's house. It begins at 6 o'clock in the evening. Our lecturer, feature speaker, is Mr. Aspo Stevens, who is a former senior education officer here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Lamkin made mention of the union's annual general meeting and the Rest and Reflection Day to be held on November 15th and 16th.
Thomas Saunders Secondary School. It begins at 4 p.m. I wish also to indicate that at that meeting, a number of resolutions would be laid on the table. One such resolution is the setting up of a medical fund, resolution dealing with pension. At the moment, not all of our teachers are pensionable, and the teachers union is of the view that all teachers, regardless to what category of teacher you are, that you ought to be a pensionable teacher. That is to bring our members up to speed with what the union has been doing on their behalf to ensure that they are appointed very shortly. And on that, we are asking our members to just, during their course of work at school, that they reflect on where the union is currently, as we look back some 42 years ago at the 1975 strike.
He further urged all members to come out and show solidarity as they celebrate their accomplishments over the years.
So we would be having this march on the 17th, and this year, instead of going to Heritage Square for our annual rally, the rally would take place at the Bishop College Hard Courts. And this venue was where the teachers culminate after the tear gas. That is where a lot of the teachers ran to. And we want to begin that at around 10 o'clock, where we invite all our teachers, all our members and families and friends and supporters to come and have a social event and to bring the curtains down really on the week of activities for 2017.
Staying true to its theme, empowering women, transforming lives, the Horizon Blossom Women's Organization will once again host an event geared at women's empowerment through the Dress for Success Forum to be held this Saturday, November 11th at the Methodist Church Hall. Designed to assist, motivate, empower, and uplift women here in SVG, the organization, according to co-founder Dr. Arusha Campbell Chambers, was established in 2011 and is proud to have come so far in carrying out its mandate.
A positive forum, so to speak. So we decided to go with a Facebook group where we just uplift them daily with everything positive, no negativity. We empower them and we encourage them to also put God as first in their lives. And we always had the dream of developing women's conferences, of putting on skills training workshops and so on. And thankfully this year we saw that dream become reality with our inaugural Horizon Blossom Women's Conference, which exceeded our expectations. Our motto is empowering women, transforming lives. And indeed, we actually did a questionnaire at the end, and every attendee said that they felt empowered and transformed after having attended the conference.
Highlighting that this Saturday's event will seek to encourage women to represent themselves to the best of their ability, Campbell Chambers added that proceeds from the event will go towards hurricane relief for the hurricane-battered islands of Dominica and Barbuda, as well as funding for skills training workshops.
It's about being the best you that you can be. It's not about vanity and just, looks, but we have to realize that what we present, to the world says a lot about ourselves. So what statement do we want? Because whether we like it or not, we make a statement daily with how we carry ourselves. So we want to uplift others. It doesn't mean the clothing has to be expensive or you have to put yourself in debt to get clothes. That's not what it's all about. It's about helping women to put themselves together, even on a low budget, even with simple items, so that they can represent themselves well, dress for the position they want. And not everybody is going to be in the corporate field, but wherever you find yourself going out, keep it covered. We don't have to overdo it. We represent ourselves well and look fashionable and feel good about yourself. This, no matter what size you come in, everybody's beautiful.
PR of the organization, Mandela Campbell, thanked all sponsors and partners for their support in making the event a reality. She further gave an insight into what patrons can expect at Saturday's event.
We'll feature dynamic presentations from 4 beautiful women, 2 Vincentians and 2 Barbadians. Kimsha Williams will speak on starting your fashion design business. Mrs. Jean Johnny Finley, classic fashionista, will speak on the topic dressing for success. We have 2 Barbadians, as I said before. Shauna Morgan, who is a fashion designer and stylist. She will speak on fashion tips. And Melinda Bell will speak on developing your personal style. We also will be featuring a fashion show with designs by KMK Fashion. And we have a free store where attendees will be able to obtain trendy clothes and accessories absolutely free. Pre-registration is available at Career City Store or PR Campbell & Company, or online. Just email us at horizonblossom@gmail.com, and it's only $30. This is one you can afford, but you can't afford to miss it. So pre-register early because we have limited spaces available. You pay $40 at the door if there's space available at the door.
Customers in St. Vincent now have a new experience in communication, courtesy Digicel. The Total Communications and Entertainment provider opened the doors to its new retail experience store on Halifax Street in Kingstown on Thursday, November 2nd, 2017. Located on the ground level of the MTM building on Halifax Street, the store boasts a 10-member team, all trained to facilitate all Digicel customer requests. Retail and Sales Manager Fanta Williams said Digicel's experience store features a new design concept for the brand's retail outlet, noting that they are proud to be in the first batch of Digicel territories to have implemented the new design.